Oh, good evening, everyone. Welcome to Soul Solutions on the 5th of December. And I'd like to welcome Christine of Yoga Mango. Christine does all sorts of yoga, including specializes in backs, but she also does lots of other stuff, and Reiki, I believe, as well. And this evening, she's going to talk about facial yoga. So we're all going to get a lovely facelift. Not that you lovely ladies need it, but I'll be quite glad of it. So with that, I'm going to pass straight over to Christine.
Thank you, Karen. Hello, everyone. Yes, yoga is a huge subject, and the face is a huge subject. And you can the Eastern philosophy looks at so much in terms of the face. So I'm going to be looking at mainly the Ayurvedic side, but of course Chinese medicine looks at the face as well. Starting off, you probably know this, the face has about 90 muscles, which is actually quite incredible, just how many muscles there are. And I think we all know the effects of stress, strain, age, gravity, all of that. A yoga teacher once said to me that creams and lotions and potions were completely useless, and that all you needed to do was to get oxygen into your face. And many years later, I probably could say that I agree with her, that there is something you can do for everything in yoga, and that includes muscles of the face. You can even target individual muscles. It's quite incredible. But I just wanted to go through a couple. I'm not going to dwell, as I think we all know a lot about face and age, so there's not a lot of point in going over to that. But I just wanted to just say that facial movement and massage can kind of drain the sort of give you lymphatic drainage, and toxins can sit in the muscles, so that you can give yourself a refreshed look. And I mentioned Ayurveda and Marma massage, Marma therapy, and both in the Chinese medicine, but also in Ayurveda, a full massage would take easily an hour. There are about 60 points that you can target on the face, and we're not going to do that per se. I just wanted to, again, this is completely obvious, that skin tone improves and bagginess can be seen to improve with, again, facial movement, muscles, headaches can disappear, the body's general energy flow is improved. And that might seem strange, but as we get older, we can often close off the energy to our head. And in fact, Parkinson's and diseases of the head in yoga are very much attributed to one of the 5 energies, the udana, upward energy, being blocked, which often can start around the neck, the back of the head, and just simply by lifting and rolling the shoulders can open the energy gate pathways up into the head. I've gone through a whole range of muscles, which would be a long list. It's in the notes, but I just wanted to focus on, for an example, the frontalis, the front of the head. If you get your hand and just press your hand against the forehead and scrunch up your forehead, you'll feel your hand being pulled up, and it's a contraction of the large frontalis muscle, and it helps to increase oxygen and blood circulation through the forehead and around the eyes, and it helps to soften your brow and make you look more relaxed. So even something as simple as that is helpful. And in somatic yoga, which is the sensory aspect of yoga, one of the movements is also pressing with your hand against your forehead and the other hand against the back of the head and pushing. And that is meant to disconnect the mind from the thought process, because you're having a sensory aspect here, and the sensory aspect is helpful in a form of mindfulness. And then those of you, I'm sure there must be some of you who practice Reiki, but the opening sequence for Reiki is again within somatic yoga. You place your hands to either side of the head, in front of the temple, and then from behind the ears, and you just press very gently in. And that again is an opening movement in Reiki that we would do for about 5 minutes. And it's incredibly soothing for the head. So I just wanted to start with something quite basic. It's Himalayan, and it's something we can easily do. So before we're going to be bringing the thumbs together, but before we even start, lifting and rolling the shoulders back, lifting and rolling both shoulders back, dropping them, rolling them forward, and then lifting and rolling them back, setting the pose, and then crossing the arms and turning to look over one shoulder as you lift the opposite shoulder, and bring the head to the center and turn to look over the other shoulder as you lift this shoulder here. And just doing that a couple of times just starts to open the energy pathways into the head. So facial yoga and facial care takes, it's not just the face, it's way below the face. The neck can block, tense neck can block off the blood as it goes up into the head. So having done that a couple of times, bring your hands, thumbs together, and just starting at the forehead, just gently smooth your thumbs across the forehead, coming off at the temple, you're just above the temples. And just do that a couple of times. And just that action is, again, quite soothing. You're going over the frontalis muscle again. And then you then do the same movement, but you drop your thumbs to either side of your nose. You've got a lot of acupressure points all the way down the center of the face. So if you very gently then just smooth across and out, all those coming off above the ears, coming off where it's comfortable, and you can again just feel that tension being almost ironed out of the face. It's such a simple movement to do. And then you just drop your thumbs a little bit further down, and you can just go along the chin and just up the jawline. The jawline carries a lot of stress. Just again, 2 or 3 times. Just something as simple as this is so helpful for just getting everything moving. And then getting between your fingers, your eyebrows, and just almost, I don't know if you can see me, kneading from the inside of the eyebrows out to the outside of the eyebrows, just pinch and release, almost like rolling skin between your fingers, and then come back to the beginning. You can use whichever fingers work for you. You've got some little dents from the inside of your eyebrows, a nick in the middle, and then to the outside. So again, you've got acupressure points here. This is a very, very easy way just to ease out. And I believe you'll find in aspects of certainly Qigong. Some of the opening sequences just focus on this inner part of the eye. And behind that point, at the top of the nose almost, you've got the two major energy channels called Ida and Pingali. They're almost like where meridians run through alongside the spine, and they run through all the major organs. So you're again helping just to clear out congestion. Of course, underneath the eyes is very gentle, so just almost gently tapping along the inner bone socket. No pressure there at all. And then just releasing. And there are so many things you can do, but that's an opening sequence in facial yoga with the Himalayan Institute. It moves on to doing weird and wonderful things like puffing your face up like a ball and just going from one side to the other to plump your cheeks out. Really elegant, pulling your lip over your teeth, and it will almost look as if you're toothless to stretch various muscles. And again, I don't know how you feel, but it's incredibly simple and actually quite incredibly effective just to clear. I know, Suzanne, if you're when you watch this maybe tomorrow and you had a headache, there are some energy points above the forehead called the neurovasculars. I'm sure some of you will have come across these in other. Yes, I can see Karen nodding her head. And so the neurovasculars in energy medicine, if you just press with the pads of your fingers, just have your head very fractionally forward and release, press again. It's believed to stop that fight or flight response and keep the blood in the head, so limiting or possibly helpful for headaches. And then, of course, the other thing for headaches is to get your fingers and just very gently draw the pads of your fingers from one side of the head, the temple, across to the other and coming off. And just always going in the same direction. And again, that's terribly soothing. The other thing for headaches, which I think looks particularly scary, but it is very effective, is if you imagine holding a bowling ball, and you drop your fingers, drop them behind. I hope you can see it. It is horrible, but very relieving. And just lift up. You're almost lifting, creating a millimetre of space. So you're lifting up with your fingers, up and almost pressing in. It's quite agonizing, but it totally releases a bad headache. That will work for me. And then just release and do it again. It's almost exquisite agony, if that makes sense. And then just release. And then the other thing that I wanted to introduce were both the ears and the eyes, because although we don't think of them as being part of our face, they are, and there's yoga for that as well. And particularly, again, as we get older, we tend to think maybe, or perhaps we don't, but people can tend to think there's very little that they can do. And starting with the ears, there is an acupressure point or a chakra point for the ears. And if you go from your temple to the top of the ear, almost as if you had a hat on, there's a dent where you put your ski hat on, like a bobble hat on. And just above the top of the ear, that dent just above there, is the acupressure point for the ear. And confusingly, in not just Ayurveda, but the colours associated with each chakra don't necessarily follow the standard format, but the colour ascribed to the ears is burgundy. And almost if you use the pads of your fingers and just press a circle That's a very Ayurvedic anti-clockwise first aromatherapy. You might feel that acupressure point for the ears, and then you might circle the other way. And that's, again, incredibly helpful for the ears. But so is our other point behind the ears, behind the jawbone. And it's not just the ears, but the eyes as well. Again, all around there, you'll find your spot. It's quite helpful for the ears. And then you've also got points, reflex points on both the feet and the hands for the ears. So it's easier for me to show you on the hands. So this, between the little finger and the fourth finger, you've got the outer ear. And then I think the thing that causes a lot of problems is the inner ear. So that's between the ring finger and the third finger. That point down there is the ear acupressure point. If you press it, it can feel quite tender. And that point is also, you'll find it on your feet as well. So again, that can be helpful for massaging in that point there. It also connects into the sinuses as well. Just all the fingers connect into the sinuses. And while we're here with both the ears, the point for the eyes, we've got outer ear, inner ear, and then between the third and the second, both fingers and toes on both sides, so right side reflects to right side of the body in reflexology, we've got the eyes. So again, you've got points on both hands and the feet, the ears and eyes. And going back to the ears, in yoga, a vibration like a singing bowl is the opposite of that, the antithesis of stagnation. The little bones can get quite stiff. And so vibration is quite helpful for hearing. And it's, funnily enough, we've had a British gas engineer today fitting a new boiler. It's been very cold, and he was deaf. And he came into the studio to have a look. We had a question for him, and he said, he goes to singing bowl sessions and gong baths because it's so helpful for his hearing, which again is interesting. But for yoga, to do it yourself, the humming bee breath is helpful, and this is the Tibetan humming bee breath, which I'm not expecting you to do, but I just wanted to show you. And it's breathing in, and then you go, and it's the vibration of the and it's the hands over the head, which sets up your own vibration with your voice. And when you've run out of breath, you come back, and you can breathe in again. It's that buzzing sound in the head that's so helpful for hearing. We would do that 3, 5, 10 times, as long as you're happy to do it. But it also is helpful. All these points that I've mentioned are helpful for tinnitus as well. And I think doctors say there's not much you can do for tinnitus. And it's true that you can't magically solve it or resolve it, but you can quell down the response for tinnitus, that kind of stress. It just calms everything down. So is helpful. I've had a number of people who've said, yes, it is very helpful for that. So the ears are part of the face, and then the eyes, because the eyes are a muscle like anything else. And again, they respond to movement and to exercise. We all know that our eyesight as a muscle, again, with gravity, our eyesight often goes one way or the other. And it's very subject to diet as well. I just wanted to go through some eye exercises for you, and to remind you again, the acupressure point for the eyes on both the hands and the feet are outer ear, inner ear, eyes. So it's between the third and the second finger and between the third and second toes as well. And so for the eyes, again, very helpful just to keep your head still and to just look up to an imaginary 12 o'clock. Come through the center and then look down to 6 o'clock, your 6 o'clock. Come back to the center and move your eyes, keeping your head still, to the right. That might just strain you a little bit. Come back to the center and move the eyes as far left as you can. Come back to the center. Go back up to your 12 o'clock and in a very smooth, non-jerky way, go around the clock and notice where your eyes jump. They might jump in the extremes of 25 past and 25 to, and then going up to the o'clock. And then, of course, the invitation is to go the other way around, so anti-clockwise, starting at 12 and going backwards. And again, notice where your eyes jump, because that is quite useful, not an exercise that we do. And having come back, imagine looking in the distance. If you're trying to see somebody in a crowd in the distance or on a hill, you're squinting your eyes slightly. And that again is exercising or changing the focus of your eyes subtly. And then the opposite to that is to imagine the center of your clock. If you put your hand out and your thumb would be the center of your clock, and then very gently bring your thumb towards you. You'll lose focus and then just bring it a little bit closer. And then release the hands. You've got a lot of energy points in your hands. And so when you've done an eye exercise, if you just rub your hands together, you'll feel when they're warm, the energy points are activated, for those healers among you. And then just place your hands over the darkness of the eyes and open the eyes into the darkness of your hands and just smooth them out. And that's palming. And the eye, when people get older and perhaps get cataracts, again, I know that there are Ayurvedic practitioners here, and you do feel free to add in your thoughts, but my understanding is that the cloudiness of the eye is due to excess kapha. Ayurveda has doshas that we representing the elements, and kapha is a cloudy, it's caused by toxins that cloud the lens and then accumulate. So things like a sugary diet and sometimes medication, to be fair, can have its impact on the eyes. But again, it's diet, lots of liquid is supposed to help. The Ayurvedic way for cataracts is rose water and purified like castor oil over the eye. And the other thing, it took me a while to get my head around this, that the Ayurveda, you know, the coal or the charcoal, and you see people in Egyptian art wearing beautiful charcoaled eyes, and charcoal, particularly in the centuries ago, but it applies as well now, is very good for protecting the eyes because the charcoal draws out toxins from the eyes. So these beautiful made up eyes that women have are actually, or did serve a purpose as well as enhancing their beauty. It enhanced their eyes, retain their eyes. So again, not things that you would necessarily think of. Before we leave the eyes and before we leave the ears, I just wanted to say that for the ears, and again, the Ayurvedic practitioners among you might have your view that supposedly eating dairy is not great for the ears because it's sticky and can have an impact, but you're open to discussion. And then the other thing I wanted to say was that the eyes connect into the pitta or fire element, and the eyes also link into the digestive system. And when people have digestive issues and stresses, quite often their eyesight can drop a notch. The chakras are all interlinked with one another. And I just wanted to point out the fire element of the eyes with the stomach, which again is something that we don't think about very often. And then the other thing I wanted to say about eyes, but the face generally, is that splashing your eyes with cold water, if you can absolutely bear it, tightens the muscles around the eyes and it gives them a mini workout. So again, I know that's like, oh, you bear it at this time of year, but that splashing of your eyes with cold water just gives that tight and then sort of letting go. If you can bear the whole body, so much the better, but it is winter and it's very cold. So yeah, but I just wanted to have that. And then the other thing, I don't quite, yes, I wanted to say the stomach meridian point, now this is Chinese medicine, is under the eye. So again, stomach and eye, you've got that link. And by the way, the gallbladder meridian point, one of the meridian points, is on the outer edge of the eye. So again, we're all interconnected. And again, you would know all of that. One of the things I wanted to go on and move on to with, because we've got another little mini facial session as well, but I wanted to connect how the teeth and tongue reflect on our face, the rest of our body. So every tooth is related to an organ. If you think about it, because friends of mine have said, well, how does that happen? And if you think, well, in order for the brain to, a command from the brain to the foot to move has to go through the face. Everything is connected through the face, and then down to the rest of the organs. So there, for those of you who are into Ayurveda, you will be very familiar with Vasant Lad. And one of his main textbooks, you'll find this. And again, I give this in the notes. So I wanted to, if you're familiar with the teeth, the very back, it's number 8. Are you kind of familiar with the tooth 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1? The same there, 8 stands there. So the back molars, 4 back molars, and some of us haven't got our wisdom teeth, but the back molars, number 8, all 4 of number 8 connect to the heart. So if you have tooth problems on the very back, the meridian that goes through there goes through the heart. Number 7, so 1 in, top and bottom, right and left, and the right side connects to the right side. It doesn't cross. I know the brain crosses over, but it's still the same side. So number 7 connects to the spleen. And I will happily send the notes over if you're interested. Number 6 connects to the stomach. And number 5 connects to the colon. Then the lungs are the 4th tooth. So 1, 2, 3, 4, the lungs. The liver connects to the 3rd tooth, which 1, 2, 3. I think those are the canines. 1, 2, 3, the canine teeth. The bladder connects to the 2nd tooth, and then the kidneys connect to the upper and front of the lower teeth, the very front tooth. So my dentist was so interested, he asked me to bring my textbook in to show him because it fascinated him. And so for those of you who are interested, that chart comes from Vasant Lad's textbook of Ayurvedic principles. There are 2 massive, behind me, massive great big things. And that is page 152, which is the Asti Dhatu, which is the bone tissue. And those of you will know then that the way that the tissues connect, that sort of, if we put weight on, the fat then diverts energy away from the bones. So people who, it's very interesting, it's very, very complicated. But the tongue also does a similar thing. And again, those of you who are into Ayurveda will know that the tongue relates both to taste and to the organs, and that I find fascinating. So the line running down the center of the tongue, if that's crooked in any way, that reflects and relates to the backbone. And then at the very tip of the tongue, because Ayurvedic has different tastes. There are 6 tastes. The very tip of the tongue relates to the sweet taste. Those where our senses are for sweet things. The outer edges of the tongue are the sour taste. And then the bitterness comes to the center and to the side of the tongue. And salty is to the back and either side of the tongue. And then the center at the back is astringent tastes. So again, the tongue relates to taste. And then the tongue relates to the organs. So if you, when you're at home, stick your tongue out, and again, this is on the notes. So the liver and the gallbladder, which is the bitter taste, are to either side of the center of the tongue. The lungs are to the side of the tongue towards the top, here. And the kidneys are to either side at the back of the tongue, and that correlates to the salty area. And the digestive system is at the center and to the back, at least the astringent taste area. So you might not have followed that because that's quite a lot to get your head around. But perhaps, again, our organs, so that's an Ayurvedic practitioner might ask you to stick your tongue out because your tongue reflects to the organs, but I'm not expert enough to be able to, I can pick out a couple of things, but a bit like reading your pulse, I'm not expert enough. I can, but I find that fascinating.
Yes. The other, just because I am an Ayurvedic practitioner, the other thing that you look at the tongue for is armor, which is the toxin. So if you have if you stick your tongue out and it looks really coated and white or yellow even, it means you've got toxins in your body, particularly in your digestive system.
That is excellent.
So therefore
point.
It means you need treatment to cleanse it all. So yeah.
Well, an excellent point. So thank you. Yes. So you're very welcome to put in at some point, or talk further on that, because it all relates to our face, and facial yoga is all about clearing toxins and oxygenating the face and getting oxygen. If you get more oxygen into your blood, then more toxins can go out. So it's just clearing everything. As Julia said, the armor on the tongue reflects toxins. I mean, as again, you'd look at the Chinese will look into your eyes. That's a whole science in itself, finding out how the eyes reflect the organs. But the eyes, if they're yellow and generally very, what healthy eyes look like, but they can also reflect those toxins in the system. Just a fascinating and huge subject. So Chinese face reading is another whole subject in its own right. But I just wanted to highlight a couple of things again. So the condition of the right eye reflects the health of the liver and the gallbladder. And the condition of the left eye reflects the health of the spleen, which is the immune system, and pancreas, which is your blood sugar management. Again, they make the point that mucked up eyes can look yellow, which is like having armor on your tongue, and it can reflect toxins in the system. But if you detoxify your body, your eyesight should improve, and particularly also then with exercises, eye exercises, and there are more than just those ones, but just going around the clock like that will strengthen the eye muscle, because the eye muscle is a muscle like anything else in the body. And when you have laser surgery, I'm going to have to be very careful here, but any surgery creates a scar tissue, which creates a slight rigidity, so it can limit the adaptability, because the eyes will then, though you've got, it will sag further in another few years. Does that make sense? So the eyes really, they do respond to exercise and to diet, and we tend to forget that. The eyelids and the immediately surrounding skin around here reflect the kidney function. It's the area where the small spectacles cover. The brow bone and under the eyes reflects the condition of the large intestine. So you can go on. And they say that if you had a colonic, the dark circles that you would see under someone's eyes would go, because you're clearing the detoxifications out. The area between the eyes and over the bridge of the nose reflects the pancreatic function, and the body of the nose reflects any disorders of the stomach. And I don't know if you've noticed people who have sometimes very large red noses, and that again is quite an interesting point, and that our noses continue to grow. That's the other thing. As we get older, our noses continue on that path, and I think our ears might do as well. Somebody could give a view on that. The condition of the skin on the cheeks reflects the lungs. So people who smoke, for instance, you sometimes see that they've got very hollowed in cheeks, and that can sometimes reflect the fact that their smoke might not be great on their lungs. And then I wanted to have a look at the forehead as well. So the lower region of the forehead, above the eyebrows, is the digestive system, just generally, not specifically. The middle across the forehead reflects the condition of the nervous system, including physical and mental health. And the upper forehead, below the hairline, reflects the conditions of the circulatory and excretory systems, which includes the heart, kidney, bladder, and large intestine. So again, skin, an Ayurvedic doctor, and again, Julia might have a view on this, once again told me that any problems with the skin reflect either a problem with dairy or with wheat. And that was his view. Cut out sugar, dairy and wheat, and your skin would improve. But again, I don't know. Dry, flaky skin above the eyebrows may indicate an overconsumption of either animal or vegetable fats, or an inadequate intake of vegetables. A sweaty or clammy forehead, well, that can be your constitution, your kapha, but it can be problems with the circulatory or excretion systems, or too much fruit juice and acidity. Oily skin on the forehead and the T-zone can indicate disorders of the liver and the gallbladder. So again, it's too many oils and fats. Again, it's fascinating. I think what reddening of any region indicates internal inflammation of the organs associated with those systems. So it's a fire element, it's a pituitary. But then if you think of something's inflamed, it goes red. So that's quite easy to understand. A dark appearance anywhere reflects perhaps sluggishness in that organ. And yellow or white spots can reflect accumulation of fats within the system. They're not going away. And red spots comes back to inflammation again, excessive consumption perhaps of sugar, fruit juice, or it can include drugs as well. And lines of the forehead are also interpreted in various ways. The vertical lines above the bridge of the nose reflect accumulation of fat in the liver, can do, or the gallbladder, and can also link to anger. People furrowing their brow, their liver function and anger are linked. Horizontal lines on the forehead early in life could indicate, apart from worry, excessive consumption of fruit juices and dairy. And again, you can literally work every little part of the face is represented in Chinese medicine. And Ayurvedic healers, again, believe that the face acts like a window, revealing the health of the body, and the eyes are sort of to reflect the window to the soul. So it is absolutely fascinating how the face reveals everything. I wanted to have a look now at a mini facial, and this is Ayurvedic in origin, so Julia might be familiar with this. You've got the Indian head massage, which is very much on the top here, and that goes into various acupressure points. This very simple routine is you can do anywhere, anytime. I think that, Karen, you've got it anyway. I gave it in the notes to hand out. And before we do that, the other thing I wanted to say, you've got some major acupressure points for those of you who are interested or have problems with your teeth. It's inside, under the lip and above the front two teeth, you've got a dent. And if you rub there, that is really quite helpful, stimulating blood flow. But what's particularly helpful is, it looks awful, but putting your finger up and running, it's above almost like number 6 tooth. There's a dent there inside. And if you rub that, particularly, that connects into the sinuses and very, very helpful for getting blood supply to the teeth, because the teeth are almost like living things. You tend to think that they're not, but they require movement and they require stimulation to keep healthy. So again, massaging that point there can be really, really helpful. So face. This one, I'm sure you'll all know, it's under the chin. So if you just literally almost going under the chin, almost going up to the jawline, you're doing this at least 10 times. It's very helpful for under the chin, double chin, just gradually introducing that movement to the chin. Tones the region. I've got here half a minute. Just. The other thing, of course, is that you can use oils if you want to glide your fingers. But again, talk like this, perhaps not smothering oil over you is going to be your best way to move forward. And then taking your second and third and index fingers, again, this will be almost like sweeping up with the backs of your index and middle fingers towards the temporal mandibular joint, the TM, which is by the ear. You can do one at a time if you want to. This is a lot, I love this. You can do both. And it helps to reduce any bagginess developing around the jawline. So, yeah, that's really helpful. And then the next one is using the pads of the index and the middle finger. Just take the left side of the face, sweep from the top of the bridge of the nose, across the cheeks up to the ears. So just sweeping up. That's a lovely uplifting movement. And then when you get up there, stay there for a few seconds, just holding it up. It's like a mini facelift. Lifts the cheeks. And then, of course, we're going to do that on the other side. So taking fingers and just sweeping up a few times and then just holding up. And then the next one is take your fingers, make a V shape with your, got to be careful, index and middle finger. Close your eyes and place your index finger below the eyebrows and your middle finger below the, just below the eye itself. So there you go. Just one below the eyebrow and then the other one just very gently below the eye itself. And then just sweep across the eyes, just terribly gently, the eye skin, and then just go into the hairline and hold. Just terribly gently up and then hold in the hairline. These are all written down. It helps to reduce bags in the eyes. And then the final one is just using the pads of your fingers, which is, and then just pressing them in and just up and then across. It's a little bit like we did at the beginning, just pressing them. It reduces lines on the forehead, but it also helps with headaches as well. And those five are just very simple overall. If you did that, your face would be beautifully toned. So I think I've come to the end of what I wanted to say, but I'm sure I've raised lots of questions in your minds, and I'm very interested in Julia's take on anything that she wanted to comment on, because I realised it's Ayurvedic territory. Oh, and just finally, I have got as a handout, I think I gave to Karen, some recipes, homemade recipes for natural exfoliants for the face and for the body generally. So again, they are there for Karen to hand out as she wants to. Yes, it's a huge subject. You can't possibly cover it in a brief time, but it's just a snippet of the face. But yes, if Julia wanted to add anything.
Yeah, no, I think you've done a brilliant job, Christine. Well done, because as you say, there's an awful lot of material that you could cover, and you've covered it extremely well. I don't do Ayurvedic massage, although I experience it. It's the best form of massage that I've ever had. But so I don't know so much about the mama points and the pressure points, but I know a lot about the diet and, how to keep your gut healthy. And a lot of what you said is absolutely true, particularly dairy being responsible for a lot of congestion, particularly if you've a tendency towards being slightly kappa, being a little bit sluggish, putting weight on easily, having troubles with sinus and things like that. Dairy is the worst thing for those kind of conditions. So keep on the fruits and veg and fruit juice. Not fruit juice, fruit in general. You've got to be a little bit careful Ayurvedically with fruit. It doesn't combine well with lots of other foods. If you eat fruit, eat it on its own rather than combining it in a meal, particularly not with, don't have fruit yogurts, don't mix fruit and milky, because they react badly with each other. They ferment in the gut and cause a lot of unpleasantness that you don't want to have, really. But I think you did a brilliant job. Well done.
Thank you. I mean, Ayurvedic is a huge subject. I covered, well, you can't cover it. It's huge. But it was part of my yoga therapy training along with mindfulness.
Yes,
and I can only say you only skim the subject, only skim the surface. But I spent some time up in London at the Ayurvedic place up in North London. Just some training.
Ayurveda Pura.
Yes, Dr.
Very good. Deepika, yeah.
Deepika, and yeah. I love some of those, but I have to say that some of the things like tongue reading and pulse reading, you really do need to know your stuff, and I found it fascinating. But Yes,
I think pulse reading is jolly. I mean, I think only the real experts. I mean, Vasant Lad is you know, he's a real exponent of pulse reading, but I think for the general Ayurvedic practitioner, it's incredibly difficult to diagnose via pulse.
yes.
You can diagnose, I can tell people who are Vata, Pitta or Kapha by their pulse because it's quite distinctive, but actually working out, you know, where the problem is and what the problem is via the pulse, it's so, you know, it's tiny little differences and you can get it entirely wrong. I wouldn't try to do that by pulse.
No, I just find it quite interesting. But the face, I mean, of course, it reveals so much about us, and it can be helped. So there are problem areas, you know, crow's feet and puffing the cheeks out and lips over and massaging no long here with acupressure points behind there. Even the ears are meant to represent the body. So the top of the ears is meant to represent the head. And although you think, well, I really don't care, actually, if you're just holding your ear rim between your finger and thumb, bits can feel sore. But again, for hearing, just opening the ear out and pulling the ear down can again just be helpful in a way that you think, well, like hearing as well, it just moves stuff around a little bit. So, and I know I'm really at the limits of my knowledge here, but almost aspects of autism can be linked. Their hearing isn't the same as we imagine the hearing to be. So the teachers think that they can't hear, but their frequency or their brain operates in a different way. So, and I think they're beginning to address this, or they've only just really kind of clocked onto that, but that's right at the edge of my knowledge. But it all comes back to the face is so much more than...
I mean, I think, again, I know very limited about autism and so on, but I know that some people use these coloured glasses, don't they, to try and help people to be able to not be affected by light in the same way. So, that, you know, again, they've got eyes that are very sensitive, just like the ears. Yeah.
Yes. It's, as I said, it all comes sort of within the face because the face we know that the face reflects your health. It reflects, you know, your mottled complexion and mucked up will reflect back to the stomach, or something's not quite right. It does, a glowing complexion, but there's so much that you can do to help yourself, and they really aren't particularly complicated. I mean, for the mouth, for instance, sort of almost blowing kisses kind of exercises the mouth. Yes, there really are about 60 odd things that you can do for the face, making various contorted movements. But just those times, I've given Karen the handout to hand out, and I think I've given the recipe things. Just the Himalayan Institute, this is ever so helpful. An Ayurvedic massage will go down the face line here, down the nose, and all the way down. You've got so many points represented here. Linking into the organs behind there. So it's all really, really helpful. The thumbs going like that is will just boost your face up, just make it look glowing. It's so simple to do. So were there any questions or anybody else wanted to add something? Because I've scattered over so many big subjects.
June's got a question. She's had her hand up. So June, do you want to go?
Yeah, it's not so much a question, it's a clarification. I love the way Ayurveda and Chinese medicine overlap in so many ways. We say the same things. I'm a Chinese medicine practitioner, and I do facial revitalization massages, and very different style to yours, but very similar in lots of ways. And so I think it's absolutely lovely to see the way that we talk about diet in the same way as Hari, who's in the PHA. He and I share common ideas about things as well. It's really lovely, and you're absolutely right. I mean, the skin is a breathing excretory organ, So anything that appears on the surface of the skin is the body trying to cleanse things, just in the same way as it would be through the breath, through the digestive system, you know, and so on. Coughing things up is another great way to get rid of excessive damp. So yeah, I mean, I just wanted to add in, if anybody's interested, the tongue coating, if it's white, it means there's excess damp. If it's green and yellow, it's a bit hot, but it can be damp and hot, you know, as well. So, you know, that's quite interesting. But I think the pulses as well, you wouldn't just diagnose strictly from pulses. You would use that in combination with looking at the face, looking at the tongue, listening to the person's voice, the quality of the voice, all of those things play into your diagnostic capacities. But you're right, it takes a lifetime to learn pulses. I've been doing it for 35 years and I still don't fully feel that I'm an expert at all in pulses. It's one of those things. But yeah, the ear, can I just say ear acupuncture? Ear acupuncture, the head is down here actually.
Right.
The head is down here. It's feet up here, back here, neck right here. Everybody should be pulling that every day to look after their necks. And then all the internal organs are in the middle.
June, which bit are you pulling? Because I can't really see.
The bit where my second earring is. Right
there.
Okay,
right, okay.
Right there, that's jaw and neck. Yeah, so it's like a baby. It's like a little fetus with its little head down at the bottom. I just love that. But there are probably other ways to look at it. And I just wanted to say that's the way we look at it. And and I'm also a Touch for Health practitioner. And Karen and I have talked about the neurovasculars already.
We have.
Times. Our really strong teaching is that you do not put pressure on the neurovasculars. You very lightly touch them. But there are other ways that you can use those points too, I'm sure. I'm sure. But I just want to say, if you have a headache, one of the best ways is just to hold those 2 points and just allow it to and float away. Just imagine it just coming out, floating away. But I love some of the other things. I'm gonna use them. I am. It's fantastic. I loved it. Thank you very much.
Oh, thank you. I think for me also, again, I don't know where Julia is, if she's still here, but
no, she's gone.
She's gone. So one of the guiding principles, because I think people get very flat when they're told, well, you've got something, there's nothing you can do about it, or you can only be solved with surgery or this. And again, it's worth giving your eyesight a go, or it's worth helping with your hearing a little bit to try something. It might not work. I mean, if there's been a major incident, but it kind of restores hope. My Ayurvedic teacher always said to me, it's like a ship that's sitting in the water and it gets overloaded and the plimth, it suddenly gets overloaded and then goes below the plimsoll line. And to try and get better, the body will always try and heal itself if it can. I mean, you know, I hear karmically sometimes we're not meant to heal. I understand all of that. But you know, if you can actually help yourself sometimes, or make yourself, or there's hope. There is hope that you can, as it took a long time to get like that, it can take a long time. You can gradually just lighten the load and throw things out, and then the plimsoll line comes back up again. And it's always like, you know, when you have a baby, it takes 9 months to have a baby. It takes another 9 months, if plus, to get over it. And these things aren't instant, and people want an instant answer. They want a pill, or it's the doctor's responsibility to provide an answer. And I sometimes think, well, it's quite nice for me to sort of think, sometimes there are things you can try rather than just a blank wall. But again, that's where we're all at, isn't it? With you know, offering, you know, even if you're desperately ill, just breathing can kind of be helpful. So yes, I always find that very uplifting about Ayurveda. That you're the same with Chinese medicine as well. That there's always something you can try to improve. But the face is, there are so many things, and they've been around for thousands of years. So that's quite you know, lovely in a way that it's
It does make me laugh the way Western medicine tries to pretend that we're some kind of newcomers. I'm like, we've been here for 3,000 years. In fact, the Tibetans were doing it for 5,000 years. You know, the Chinese were kind of relatively new. Only 3,000 years old. Yeah, it's incredible, isn't it? They're the youngsters. Yes. They're the young upstarts. That's what I keep saying. You're just the young upstarts.
Totally. Yes. Maxine put something in the chat. Do you want to speak about that, Maxine?
Sure. When you're talking about the hearing for autistic people,
yes.
So Flame Audio, they're experts in acoustics and sound things, and they've developed these little things that go in the ear. They've got a hole in the middle of it, and it initially started out life as something that improves sound, but they found that it actually takes out the high pitch, which really helps people with autism, anxiety. Myself, I used them when I went back into the centre after COVID. I just, you know, I totally went inside myself, and I found it, you know, a bit overwhelming. Like, and if you have to go into London or a concert where there's lots of people, I think they're great. They also press inside the ear where there's the vagus nerve comes up to the surface of the skin, so they're calming in that way as well. So yeah, I thought I'd put the link in the chat, and you know, could be helpful to somebody.
Yeah,
thank you. And I was going to ask you then, where in the ear does the vagus nerve kind of surface?
It kind of surfaces, I think it's at the back of the ear. So if you put your finger in like this with your nail towards your face, and then you're gently pressing back, and if you kind of hold it there, you can actually start to feel that your body starts to calm.
At the top or at the bottom?
At the back. So if the hole is like that,
yes,
and that's towards your face,
yes,
it's this.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's it, basically, just straight in like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so, yeah, if you hold it there, just gentle pressure and just breathe. Not really any pressure as such. I mean, just the shape of your finger being in there is enough pressure that the nerves need.
How interesting. There's just so much that we don't know, and as well, yeah, huge subject.
Yeah. When you talked about eyesight, I had a friend who became diabetic, and her eyesight went all over the place for quite a while, and actually her eyesight got better for a bit.
Yes,
and declined again, but it was really all over the place, and it was one of the things she noticed most was the eyesight change. So yeah, absolutely linked to you know, well, that's more pancreas, isn't it? But it's digestion and blood sugars and all of that sort of thing. So yeah, massive link.
And again, it's not a link that I don't think people connect to necessarily.
No.
But it's the Julia's, I think it's the pitta element, the fire element, because it's the element of fire for the eyes, and the element of fire, the manipura, yes, the digestive enzymes of the fire element for the digestive system to transform what we eat into, you know, where it goes in the body, I suppose. But I mean, yes, I mean, every part of the face. I've got I'm looking at June there with your Chinese books on Chinese face, and each mole and each bit can tell you what's going to happen and what. I mean, it does really go into things. It's just amazing. But just sometimes I sit and just idly flip through them. I think, oh my God, there's so much there. But anyway, it's just food for thought. I'm very interested in the ears and the tinnitus, not the tinnitus, the autistic. So I'm thinking, potentially that might help with tinnitus, because tinnitus is often, there's a stress element to tinnitus as well. But that would permanently, could, because it's, as I said, people when they're stressed, tinnitus kind of flares up.
I think also the emotional side of that is that actually they're trying to block something out.
Yes.
So then again, it's stress of some sort. I had a client who got tinnitus when he was in a job that he was getting mercilessly bullied, and he developed tinnitus because it was like an unconscious way of blocking these people out. And when he changed his job, it got very much better. So there's a massive emotional, well, like with everything, but tinnitus, it's quite obvious actually.
Oh yes, I mean, it just again, I love the idea that there is something you can try, and I'm just seeing the Lillian Bridges reference. So yes, thank you for that. Yeah, it really interesting. And when you see somebody, their face, I don't know what we pick up about somebody, but we often do pick up something about their face, their expression, there's something there that somebody looks helpful or they don't, or there's something about them. So we are reading people's faces all the time. The hands are useful. I mean, the other part between the thumb and the second finger is like a confluence of about 3 points. If any of you, again, Jean might know this. The liver, something and something, about 3 points here for just general health. Then you just push and just pull off, and that's very helpful as well. And the same between the toes. But again, just fiddling with your hands or your feet can be helpful for the eyes, the ears, the general liver. Which I can think of the other 3, but this is very helpful for congestion and clearing stuff.
But also I'd be very careful with it because it can move the bowels.
Okay.
Yeah, it's the large intestine meridian. It's not really. There are no other meridians that go through there. But it is very much paired with the liver in a similar place on the foot. The liver and those 2 points, well, those 4 points are called the 4 gates, and you would do them to really do a massive clear up, but you wouldn't do that on somebody who's a bit weak and feeble. You would make sure that and it really does move the bowels. Yes.
Is that the one between the thumb and the
Yeah, that one. People often use that for headaches.
Yes, that's what I was going to say.
Because it goes. You see, the large intestine goes right up to here, and if it's stuck anywhere, you can clear it by doing that. Or the one next to it, actually, that's large intestine 4 and then 5. But yeah, I was just thinking how much more awake I feel now than I did earlier on, and I think something is worth mentioning. If you do facial stuff, you need to do something on your feet to make sure you're grounding the meridians afterwards, because you can end up. I know somebody who was treated by somebody with very powerful facial acupuncture, and she ended up with high blood pressure.
Oh.
So it's really worth being careful and making sure your meridians go back down, because there's 3 of them that go down from the head to the feet. And if you're doing stuff that goes up all the time, you just I always hold the feet at the end.
So it's a balance, isn't it?
Yeah.
I know that Donna Eden does the spoons on the feet thing.
Oh,
yeah.
Yeah.
She's very creative.
She is very creative. Yeah, spoons on your feet for grounding. Oh,
I know that on that same subject that people who have epileptic fits or epilepsy, when the brain connections are fused out, that holding their feet to ground them is supposed to be very, very helpful.
Yeah.
Which I've done on somebody who was really having a bad time, and just gently connected to their feet, and it did bring them back again. So again, I understand that about the energy to floating around, and then that you need to bring it through to ground. So yes, I do get that. So yeah, you could go on forever, couldn't you? This is such a big subject.
No,
I've only skimmed past tiny bit. As I said, I have got the talk here if anybody was interested to connect the individual teeth. If you've forgotten the teeth with the organs and how that works. I mean, the other thing which I haven't mentioned, but I do neti pots a lot.
Okay.
which are the Indian Ayurvedic type saline solution.
Yeah, I love neti pots.
So that gets behind the nose, and that's where all your mucus, before you get a virus, kind of incubates. And saline is slightly, it kills stuff. So it kind of keeps a lot of bugs away, and it's supposed to be very fresh for your facial complexion. That's what I was going to say.
It always feels nice. I love doing a neti pot.
I do too. Some people don't, and you can have like Sterimar spray from the chemist that sprays up, but it doesn't go around, so it's not.
You've got to get it right, otherwise it doesn't. I always think if you get the angle right, it works really well. But if you don't, you end up swallowing it and stuff. That's not so good.
Chin down and turn. And I use a sachet because if I get the saline bit wrong, it hurts, or it feels I've gone under water in a swimming pool. So it's just, that's perfect and slightly warm. And it's supposed to also be good for Bell's palsy. Not that anyone's going to be interested in that, and again, you've got the Leda and Pingali major energy points that go through all the major organs. So by doing that, you're believed to be cleansing your organs. But I've done neti pots for years as a kind of a sort of one of those things, I suppose. And particularly now in the wintertime with flu and all kinds of lovely things going around. Just an extra thing, but it's supposed to be very helpful and also very good for sinus and sinusitis.
Yeah, it is. That's why I used it originally, is sinuses, but I quite like it anyway.
Yes. Has anybody else got any questions or thoughts or?
Anyone got questions at all? Okay, I think everyone's going to go away and do loads of.
You've got the handout.
Yes, so the handout. I think you sent me by email, didn't you? So I will probably I'll see if can you put them on. Which one are you on? I always forget, Christine. You're on Telegram or WhatsApp? WhatsApp. Are you able to put them on the WhatsApp group and then I can transfer them to Telegram? That's the easiest way to get it on there, because I don't have everyone's emails, but I know Suzanne has some people's. Otherwise I'll get emails and send it out.
Yes. I'm mentally, because I can take it and put it on Facebook, and from Facebook I can pick it up and put it to WhatsApp, can't I?
I don't know. I've never done it that way. Personally, but
I will do something. I will do something.
I'm sure. Well, if you have an issue with it, let me know and we'll work it out. But we'll get it out to everyone anyway. Because I know you sent it to me by email, and when I tried to put what you sent onto the Telegram group, it wouldn't go. So but if not, I'll have to email it to people, or email it to Suzanne, who's got some people's emails, or find out people's email addresses.
Okay, I'm sure I can do something. It's there. It's just pressing the right button. So,
that's always the same with technology.
I know.
The right button.
Yes, pressing the right button. So it's just, that was just a hardly scratching the surface. And in some ways I feel quite embarrassed because there's so much in Ayurveda and there's so much in Chinese, and it's not really doing either a great service. It's just
because it's a short amount of time that people just can take on board some things that help. So that's really useful. I'm sure everyone's gained quite a bit. I know I have. So thank you very much. And just to let you know, obviously this week if you're on WhatsApp, feel free to share anything you've got coming up, share your details, and you transfer it all to Telegram, so everyone on Telegram has it. So anything you want to share for a week, the platform's yours for a week.
Okay.
And just to say, we won't now be back before Christmas. That's it, till after Christmas, because it's getting quite close. After that, we've got Kristin Chalklin, who's on the call, doing astrology, and we're doing it on a Tuesday because the first Monday of January is a bank holiday. So we're going to do it on the 3rd of January. We can't do it the following Monday because Suzanne has stuff on alternate Mondays. So it'll be the 3rd. We'll be back with an astrological view from Christine, which is always good at the beginning of the year. So
Okay.
hopefully you can all join us. So it seems a bit odd, but happy Christmas to anyone who I'm not going to see before Christmas. I'll probably see some of you on Zoom and places. And hope you have a nice Christmas, New Year, and we will see you in the new year.
Yeah,
Thank you everyone for coming along.
It's really interesting. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye bye.
Bye.
Take care, everyone. Bye.